Hello, welcome to Filmi Ladies. It's catch-up time because it's been a while since we just kind of talked about what we've been watching other than the things we watch specifically for this podcast. It is also the time of year to revisit the Marathi Film Festival that Pitu has gone to. We did that last year as well, and it was a gangbuster episode. Thank you to everyone who listened to that.
Yeah,
A little outside our usual wheelhouse.
nice.
And so she's going to talk about that, and then we'll just talk about some of the other things that we've been watching. What do you want to start with? Do you want to start with the festival?
Oh my gosh, the festival was so much fun and I'm so tired. Like I literally woke up from a nap like 15 minutes ago and like made myself some tea because the festival was just like nonstop. So it was Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I didn't do Friday because I went to work. But Saturday and Sunday, I actually went to the festival. And first of all, it was in San Jose, which is hella far from where I live.
Hmm.
It was like almost an hour and a half just getting there. So it was 3 hours just in travel. But it was so worth it. And I learned so much and I met such amazing visionaries and like these big names. And part of the reason that I'm very passionate about going for any event that brings Indian artists to America is because so many of these Indian artists are older, so not to be morbid, but I don't know how many years they're going to be around, how many more years they're going to be capable of getting on a plane and coming all the way to America and doing things like this where every hour of their day is scheduled for like master classes and panel discussions and interviews. It's exhausting. So some of the people that I had the opportunity to meet were the great Amol Palekar, who I was shocked to discover is 80 years old because he's very,
Wow.
very spry. And his wife, Sandhya Gokhale, she is the writer of something like 7 or 8 movies. She's also a litigator. She's a lawyer who practiced in New York City as well as the Mumbai High Court. And she is the writer of our beloved Paheli. Amol Palekar was also launching his book, his autobiography. It's called Ivaz. It's in 3 languages, Marathi, Hindi, and English. And he was doing like autographed copies over there. Unfortunately, they ran out of the autographed copies by the time I got there. But I spoke to the guy who was like unloading the boxes, and he said that he had a few boxes, like he had like a box left with a few copies. So he gave me his phone number and he said, just touch base with me later and I'll keep a copy for you. He was like, what language do you want? I was like, well, I prefer Marathi. And he was like, the Marathi is completely sold out. But he said, I have some copies in English and Hindi. I was like, okay, English, please. Like, I will call dibs on that. So he
Nice.
was like, so he's keeping one autograph copy for me. So the book launch happened, and then Amol Palekar was talking about his journey, his very long career, and Sandhya Gokhale was next to him, and she was talking about the writing that they've done together. So that was amazing. I also got to meet Dr. Mohan Agashe, who is one of the biggest names in. He is literally a practicing psychiatrist. He's 75 years old.
Who cares? Did you talk to him about being Coca?
I couldn't talk to him about Kuka because it was like the panel discussion ran too long. But here's the thing, I expressed my disappointment and I have acquired his personal email address. And so I will be emailing him about Kuka. He was very friendly and super nice. And he was very apologetic about the fact that, so all the master classes, they ended with like a question and answer session where you could ask about like 4 questions. I mean, in total, you really had to be very aggressive about raising your hand. But me, of course, I have always been like a front bencher since I was a child. So I was always like in the front row, like staring at the person. But because his thing went over and then he had to be ushered out to attend the panel discussion that had all the people on it, the organizers rushed him out. And he felt so bad about the fact that he couldn't answer questions that he literally just like blurted out his email address. And he was like, you guys can email me, I'll respond. And I was like, yes.
Sure, that is dangerous. What did you just do?
I know, right? I was like, okay, I'll respond. I don't care. So maybe he'll be my email friend. I'm very excited. But yeah, so he was really cool. I met Ashvini Bhave and she spoke about her experiences as well. I miss Sonali Kulkarni because like the times were not matching up because there was too much going on and you couldn't attend every single thing. You had to pick and choose. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, I couldn't attend her thing. I also attended a masterclass with Madhur Bhandarkar. He is hilarious.
Oh, wow.
The man had us in splits. I was laughing the entire time, and I was not like, to be honest with you, he was the one I was the least excited about, but
Hmm.
he ended up being hysterical, and he had the most funnest anecdotes, actually. So he was really cool as well.
Nice.
So it was a really good time. And then the best part was on Sunday evening, I went and attended a Lavani performance by Ashish Patil, who's like a really famous Lavani dancer. And I signed up for his dance workshop on Tuesday. So I'm going to go directly from work. It's going to be very exciting. I'm very happy about that. So it was a very busy weekend. I am operating on 5 hours of sleep and gallons of caffeine, but it was worth it, and it was very enjoyable. I One of the things I love about film festivals, Beth, is that you get to meet your people.
Sure.
You know, people who are excitable, and there were people who'd flown in from Texas and Florida. There was, in Dr. Mohan Agashe's thing, he would speak in Marathi, and then he would essentially say the same thing in English, which is also why his class went on forever, because he had a few psychologist friends of his who are American who were in the audience. And he didn't want them to not know
Oh,
what was going on. So
oh,
everything was like doubled up, you know.
wow.
But it was so nice to be surrounded by a whole bunch of film nerds for 3 days where people don't think you're crazy because you're obsessed with movies or whatever. So I'll start with Amol Palekar. His Q&A session was really fun. Him and Santiago Clay talked about what it was like for his career, because one of the things that he was asked is, how did you manage to have such a successful career as a hero, given what your competition was? I mean, he became a hero at the time that Amitabh Bachchan was
Right.
reigning, and Dharmendra was also a big time hero, and Vinod Khanna, right? And Amol Palekar said, it's funny you say that, because he said that's exactly how I could become a hero. Because he said, no one was ever going to cast me as the angry young man. I'm a soft spoken artist. So he's literally an artist who studied professional art at the JJ School of Art. And then he actually he's done like solo painting shows and stuff like that. And so he started out as an artist, and then he became an actor, and then he became a filmmaker, and he was involved in theater all along as well. So he said, it's precisely the fact that I'm not 6 foot tall, I don't have a baritone, I literally look like the guy next door. And so I was never in competition for the roles that Bachchan was doing. He said, I also am not like extremely handsome and have a six pack. So I'm not in competition for what Dharmendra or Vinod Khanna are doing, right? So those middle of the road movies that Rishikesh Mukherjee was making, like Rajnikantha and things like that, like Golmaal and stuff like that, I was the perfect actor for that, because to the audience, I was someone who lived next door and who worked next door. And he said the way that I would pitch, like the roles were pitched to me, was, you're a person who takes the local train to go to work, and you actually have a job in like an office, and you understand concepts like salaries and budgets. And he said, and here's the thing, I played the kind of hero that when I was going for a date with someone, my chappal broke, like, and I had to drag my chappal along the street. So there was like a relatability that I had that the other heroes just didn't have. And he said even the awkwardness that he had was what was, appealing. And he talked about how in the Hindi film space he worked with directors like Basu Chatterjee and Rishikesh Mukherjee, who kind of had that same sort of middle of the road vision that he did. And so it was like a really good working space for all of them. And then he talked about how initially he did a lot of films for very little money, because he believed in the vision and he wanted to do those particular films. But he soon realized that he was maybe being taken advantage of, and that people were like lowballing him. And at one point, when one of the films that he had done had made a ton of money for the producers, the next time and he didn't name the director, but he said the next time the director came to him, he was basically like, your movie became a gigantic blockbuster. You're not paying, you're not lowballing other actors. So why are you paying me so little? You either hike up my pay and give me my rate that I'm due, or we're not going to work together. So he even talked about stuff like that, where he had to talk about practical decisions. He talked about how he had to take loans for the first time in his life to make a movie. Like the first time he decided to be a filmmaker, he just didn't have the money for it. And he said it was such a terrifying experience for him that he would lie awake at night worried about, what if the film flops? How am I going to pay this money back? Am I going to have to sell my bungalow? And so he was terrified. And so that was the first and the last time that he ever produced a movie with money he had personally borrowed. And then, of course, then he talked about how Santiago Clay met him. So Santiago Clay was a really interesting person. I have never met this person in my life before. I don't know a lot about her because she's very like, she's not the celebrity part of that marriage. And I think she tends to be like a little more in the wings, sort of. Fascinating woman. So she's from Pune and she works as a lawyer. She worked as a lawyer in India. And then she followed her boyfriend, not Amol Palekar. She followed her boyfriend to America. She studied law over here as well. And then she was actually an attorney in New York City for many years. And after like, and then she became a single mom. And then after like, I think like a decade or 2 decades of living in America, she was too homesick and she missed like her roots and everything. She decided to move back to India and then continue to practice law in India. And she is an activist, and a lot of her court cases in India, she wanted to give back. So instead of focusing on like, just having high profile clients, she actually did a lot of court cases representing like gay people because homosexuality was a criminal offense, AIDS, things like that. She focused on a lot of women's rights stuff, and then divorce and alimony situations where the goal was more to what can I do to further things as a lawyer. And she'd been writing ever since she was a child. And so when she became friends with Amol Palekar, they started out as friends, and he thought she had very interesting perspectives, and she'd lived in a lot of places and stuff. He was like, well, why don't we collaborate together? So they started working together, and Paheli was a script that she wrote. And she said, I literally wanted to call it The Riddle, which is Paheli, because it's the riddle of who's the husband, who's all of that. And that was very interesting as well. And then they talked about what it was like. You have Shah Rukh Khan as the producer, like not the producer, but he's like the main hero in it, and it's like a big production. Because until then, almost all of Amol Palekar's filmography as a producer is mostly Marathi movies, and they're low budget but award-winning films. Like he has his famous, what we call the sexuality trilogy, which is Daira, Thang, and Anahat. I actually saw Anahat in the theater when it released. It has Sonali Bendre in it. And the reason I actually watched Anahat was because it's shot in Hampi, the site of the Vijayanagar Empire, among those ruins. I just thought it would be so beautiful. And as you and I are both fans of Utsav, that's part of the reason I watched Anahat. And that's probably Sonali Bendre's career best performance. She's not a particularly good actor, but she's good in Anahat. Thang is a very interesting movie. It has Mrinal Dev in it, and it has Sachin Khedekar, whom you may know as the husband in Astitva. So it's an interesting movie where the actress has been married the character has been married for a really long time. And I think they have a kid. And she at a very late stage, she basically, after years of matrimony, discovers that her husband is actually homosexual and how she deals with that. So, and then Daira, of course, is Sonali Kulkarni and what is that actor's name? It'll come to me. It'll come to me. But she basically is a runaway, and he's a transvestite who like helps her out and everything. So it was also interesting. They were talking about how they never really fit into the Bollywood kind of community, specifically because they're both atheists. And they said that especially on the sets of Paheli was interesting because like on the very first day of the shot, they were going to do a puja, like the cast and crew, everyone was going to do a puja as is normal for all movies. And they were not comfortable with that because they said, we're atheists, we're not going to participate. So it was weird. Like you're the filmmaker, the director, and she's the writer, and you're not participating in the puja. So they were like, we're not going to do it. And they didn't say this, but I thought to myself, like, that's so funny. Like you have Shah Rukh Khan, who is a Muslim man, and he's sitting at the puja, but they're just like, nope, that's not our jam. Y'all can do it. That's fine. And Santiago Clay said something really interesting. I did not know this, but so obviously the Bollywood bunch is like very superstitious or whatever. And so I don't know if you know that there's this day, it's called Sarvapitri Amavasya. It's essentially Indian Halloween. What that means is that's the day when the dead ancestors come to earth. And so it's considered the most inauspicious day of the year. It's a day of mourning and remembrance. You're not supposed to buy anything expensive. The Indian share market famously on Sarvapatri Amavasya is at its lowest. Gold prices are at their lowest always. Like the highest day is always Dhanteras, which is one of the days in Diwali. And Sarvapatri Amavasya is like always the lowest. And I think Sarvapatri Amavasya almost always comes in like December-ish. So Sandhya Gokhale was talking about how they have often released movies on Sarvapatri Amavasya, including Anahat, because that's when the Bollywood people will not release movies. So you have full reign of whatever theaters you want. And they talked about how Anahat, they could get every theater of their choice and they could do as many shows as they wanted. And they would literally, initially, they would get phone calls from like friends in Bollywood who would be like, do you know, have you consulted an astrologer, are you aware that you're releasing your movie on this day? Like, that's terrible, you're going to lose money. And they were like, well, we're actually making money because we're saving it, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to go ahead and do it. So I just found that very interesting. Like, they're this very, very cerebral, very intellectual couple, and I found them very refreshing in the sense that they have these very progressive views and they're very atheist and things like that. But at the same time, they're very kind of like laissez-faire, where they're like, y'all do what you want to do, we're going to do what we want to do, and we're going to live our life the way we want. You can do your thing. So that was really interesting, and I loved. And then there was like a little rapid fire where the interviewer asked him. He was like, Basu Chatterjee or Rishikesh Mukherjee. And he was like, Rishikesh Mukherjee. And then they were like, Nana Patekar or Nasir. And he was like, Nasir. And the audience literally gasped. They were like, Nasir? I gasped too, because I was like, you would pick Nasiruddin Shah or Nana Patekar? And my husband was like, of course, Nasir's the better actor. I was like, no, he's not. And we were like doing this. And then, so that was like a lot of fun. And I really want to read the book. Oh, and they did this really brilliant thing. So in the book, they have a bunch of QR codes at the end of the book. If you scan the QR codes, apparently it takes you to a website where you can watch a lot of the movies that Amol Palekar has personally produced and directed, because they want people to be able to see them. And being that they're older movies, they're not easily visible anywhere, as you and I know, when we try to watch films. Yeah. So they were like, we just put QR codes in there. You can go to the website. They're free. You can watch them. We just want people to be able to experience cinema. And I was like, I love y'all. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Right. So that was a lot of fun. And I'm glad I will get my grubby paws on his autobiography soon. And since I'm going to be able to get the English copy, once I'm done with it, I'll mail it off to you as well. Then we met Ashvini Bhave, and her conversation was interesting. So for every panel, for every masterclass, they had like a topic that was pre-decided, and they didn't really veer from it. And if you had specific questions, you could ask them during the Q&A session. So Ashwini Bhave's was very interesting. It was about what it's like to live a dual life where you're a big superstar in India and then you come to America and you're basically nobody. And what do you do with your life and how do you give yourself purpose and stuff like that? So she talked about how she started acting when she was 15. She acted in Marathi nataks, in plays. And she talks about how she was not a trained actor. And when she was on set with all of these big names, she would get really like nervous. And the director and the co-stars would help her and they would encourage her and they'd be like, don't be scared, it's fine. So she talked about that. She talked about her first trip abroad with a Marathi play that was being shown in London, and she talked about that. Then she went into Marathi cinema. Then from Marathi cinema, she went into Hindi cinema, and then she worked with like the RK Banner and stuff like that. She did all of these movies. And then she started talking about how at one point, so she talked about how she's never been someone who was so ambitious and driven that she just wanted to get to the top. She talked about how it's important to her to do a lot of different things. And at one point she just reached this thing where she was like, I want to get married, I want kids. So she got married, she moved to the US. She actually lives in the Bay Area, and she still lived like 20 minutes away from my old house, and I never bumped into her because of course I did. Aishwarya Rai was 10 minutes away from me in Chicago, and I didn't meet her either. I never do. So she was talking about how when she got married and she moved here, initially she was just like she didn't know what to do with herself. She was like, suddenly, after years of working 3 shifts and having no life and just working and working and working, I had the whole day to myself. I didn't have children yet. Nobody knew me. I had no friends. I had no support system. And I was like, well, what do I do today? I don't have a job to go to. Um, and then eventually she had children, and she decided she didn't want to be what she called the complaining mother who acts like she's like a martyr. So she actually decided to go to film school. So she went to film school in the Bay Area, and she realized that her favorite thing in film school was actually editing. Of all things, she discovered she loved editing, and she didn't want to be in front of the camera anymore because, like, been there, done that. And she then got an internship at Lucasfilm, which is also in the Bay Area. It's in Emeryville. So she got an internship over there, and she talked about how all her classmates were so excited. They were like, "Oh my God, you got an editing internship at Lucasfilm!" But then she talked about when she got to Lucasfilm, she was excited. But her entire internship, all she did was she was in their archive room and she was just slotting cassettes. That's all she was doing. And so she talked about how disappointed she was. And she was like, I don't want to do this. You're not actually letting me touch any of the machines, like any of the actual editing software or machines and stuff. I don't want to do this. So she didn't do that. She continues to act. She's still just last year she did like 2 Marathi movies. So she travels back and forth. And then she talked about how it's important for actors not to just get like caught up in that life, and to actually have like your family and your friends and your interests, and just be like a well-rounded person outside of that. And she actually talked about how, like, she's now almost 60 years old. She's like 58. And she talked about how now, with the advantage of, like, hindsight is 2020, she has that perspective where she realizes that when you're in the thing, when you're in the film industry and you're just working and you're just surrounded by other filmy people, you have no sense of the life outside the shoot and the set, and all, your whole life is that. And every Friday when your movie releases, you're either in demand or you are a nobody. And she talked about how much more peaceful her life is now because she's no longer part of the rat race. So if a filmmaker brings like a really interesting script to her, she goes to India, she films for 2 months, she does the thing, she comes back. She's also done like 2 documentaries, one on like Warli artists, and another documentary she talked about. And so she talked about how it was interesting to be behind the camera, and how she had this very cocky idea of, I'm going to go to this village in Maharashtra and I'm going to meet all the Warli painters. And then I'm going to do this on this day and this on that day and this on the third day. And nothing went according to plan. And so she talked about the importance of, like, going with the flow and not being too worked up. And then one of the people in the audience asked her, like, what is some advice you would give Gen Z, like young, because like her daughter just graduated from the University of California. And so they were like, what advice would you give Gen Z who wants to get into film in any aspect of filmmaking, or to women in particular? And she said the most important thing, she was like, first of all, I don't think I can tell Gen Z anything because they're so much smarter than we were. She was like, they're so aware, they know so many things, we knew nothing when we were their age. So she was like, firstly, I'm in awe of this generation. But she said, if there's anything I would want to teach people, is that, don't take yourself too seriously and make mistakes. And I found that very heartwarming. Like, I felt like where the Amol Palekar and Sandhya Gokhale panel was more about like learning from these really like creative, amazing people, Ashvini Bhave's was interesting because it was more from like the person as a human being and the different relationships they have with other people. That was also very interesting to me. And then the third one was Dr. Mohan Agashe. Man, he is so, like, I'm in awe of him. So first of all, he is also in his late 70s. He's a psychiatrist. He ended his practice, I think, in 2005, they said. So he had been working as a psychiatrist for decades. And he talked about how grueling his life used to be. So his passion was medical science. So he became a doctor, became a psychiatrist, acted in nataks his whole life. And then in the evening, after his shift at the hospital was over, he would go to his play performances. And then on weekends, he would shoot for the movies. Like, batshit. I was like, do you sleep? Do you eat? Is that like an option? And he, as if this isn't enough, he also, because he felt that children especially don't get the psychological and emotional help and support that they need, he wanted to do something for kids. So there's a form of theater from Germany that he introduced into India. And he actually, it's popular, it's still continuing, it's like a very sustainable model, they're still doing it. It's basically Marathi children's theater but with that German form. And he actually got like Germany's highest civilian honor for that. He got the Goethe medal for contribution to like cultural arts and stuff like that. And so his panel discussion was very, very interesting, but it was also very like high level, to the point that you really had to pay attention to what this man was saying, because he's a doctor as well as like a thespian. And so he,
About Coca would have been
I
nothing.
know, I was like, that would not have been the move, but I can email him, it's okay. So his entire, he brought like a PowerPoint presentation. It was alarming. Like I walked into the master class, I was like, why is there a projection slide? And then he told all the light people to switch the lights up, because they had all these lights on him, and I was like, no, there's a projection, I'm gonna. And then he was like, there was a guy who was like pressing the slides. So it was literally a PowerPoint presentation on the impact of cinema on the human psyche. I was like, what? Because he said, like, he started off by saying, like, he speaks in a very like Socratic method, where he was basically like, what is the way that human beings learn? What is the first thing that we learn? People were like speech, like words, like sounds that children make and stuff like that. And he was like, yes. And then there's the visual medium, and then reading and writing comes much later. And then he talked about how cinema is so powerful, because even people who are illiterate, which is such a big problem in India, of course, like even illiterate people can still understand a message if it's in the form of film. And he was talking about how cinema has been used to not only elevate and energize and empower people, but also to bring them down and also to propagandize. And he was talking about how in the South, especially, they really understand the power of cinema, like in Tamil Nadu. And he referenced Mani Ratnam's movie Iruvar, because he was talking about Karunanidhi and MG Ramchandran, and about how, like in Tamil Nadu, for example, it's very popular for film stars to become big politicians, right? Like there's Jayalalitha, all of these people. And so he was talking about how that's both a good and a bad thing. Because, I mean, we should know our current president is a reality TV star. So the dangers of just because you like seeing someone on screen and thinking that they can also be a leader, but someone could have a brilliant mind, great ideas, they really want to work towards helping the people, but they have no charisma. You haven't seen them on TV, so you're not going to vote for them, right? So he was talking about that. It was really interesting. He was talking about perspectives, and he was talking about this Marathi filmmaker called Sumitra Bhave. I've seen like one or two of her films, and he talked about how she's actually a social scientist. So she graduated from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, and he met her through his work as a psychiatrist, not as a filmmaker. And they became friends. And she was doing a lot of work with women who live in urban slums and the problems that they face, right? Like many of them are illiterate, many of them work as house help, many of them are in extremely violent or really bad marriages, or they don't know about like birth control and stuff like that, like all the problems that they face, right? And so many of them, Sumitra Bhave found it so difficult to get her messages across to them, because typically the way that messages are relayed is through pamphlets, but many of them can't read, or or it's like through these Ministry of Information Broadcasting or Doordarshan like PSAs, but they're boring and they're not exciting. So he was like, so how do you give them that message? Cinema. So Sumitra Bhave became a filmmaker because she realized that the only way to get through to those urban slum dwellers was through film. And she had a friend who was a cinematographer, and so Dr. Mohan Agashe, the cinematographer, they helped her, and she made movies based on that. And the first film she made, which was called One Woman, it's a Marathi film. It's basically called Bai. Translated in English, it's One Woman. It won the national award. And so she was so encouraged by that she made her next movie, which was about two sisters. And that movie is Doghi, which Marathi people love this movie. It has Sonali Kulkarni in it. It's the movie that Laga Shunri Mein Daag is based on. And Dogi also like was a smash hit and made like a lot of money at the box office, but also won an insane amount of awards. So at that point, Dr. Mohan Agashe was like, well, maybe you could be like a social scientist and a filmmaker. Like, why do you just have to pick one thing? And so that's how her filmmaking journey began. So his whole thing was about be conscious of what you consume. And he talked about like nutrition versus junk food. And he's like, hey, once in a while, if you want to eat a bowl of Maggie noodles, I'm not going to stop you. But don't just consume junk all the time. Watch good cinema, read good books, and just, and the other thing he said, that one of the dangers also is that if you make movies that are very message driven, but if they're not fun, people are not going to watch them. So he said there needs to be this balance of making a movie that is message driven, but it's also fun. Having good music really helps because that brings people to the theaters. And he said that that's, one of the ways that you can actually incorporate social change. And he said that as a psychiatrist, he has seen firsthand how powerful cinema can be, but also how dangerous it can be, right? So that was very interesting. And then they ran out of time because he kept translating everything from Marathi into English for his American coworkers. And then when it was like time for the question and answers, I was like, hey, there's no time. And also, I am not going to ask about Kuka over here. Not after I've been schooled about like, you know. But then he gave us his email address, so that was nice. So that was a lot of fun. And it was just really cool to meet all of these people. And I was kind of astounded at how passionate they are. Like Amol Palekar is 80, Dr. Mohan Agashe is 78, but they care so much. They were talking about new movies they watched. They were talking about movies that they're looking forward to seeing. And Dr. Mohan Agashe was talking about how the most important thing is to have a sense of wonder and to read things. And he was like, go on YouTube. All the best movies are free on YouTube. You can see all of them. He was like, I sit at home and like I watch all of these movies and it's great. So they were talking about that. So
Ask him
it was
for
really cool.
this. What is he watching?
I know, right? I'm gonna like seriously, I'm gonna like inundate this man with so many emails. Someone's gonna have to control me. I saw your face. You were like, Pitu, stop.
Concerned already.
I know. You know what I'll do? I'll start like a slow conversation with him and be very like intellectual and like amazing. And then once he's hooked, I'll send him an email about Kuka.
It's like when Sujoy Kandan podcast went to a press release for what was that move? Was it Besharam that Rishi Neetu and Ranbir did together? It's Besharam.
Yeah, I think so.
He went to that press release and he asked Rishi Kapoor about Ajuba.
Oh.
What do you want to talk about?
Did Rishi Kapoor just like shut him down? Also, Rishi is famously known for being so curmudgeonly. Like, I would be scared to ask Rishi Kapoor anything. I think the only question I would have the guts to ask Rishi Kapoor would be like, why are you so amazing? He'd probably be like, because I'm a Kapoor. But this is so Joey's story also remind me of back in the Twitter days. Do you remember ages ago when Shahrukh used to like spend hours chatting with people on Twitter and he would respond to everyone? It was so awesome. And one day he was really on a roll because I think he was waiting for his next flight or something. And I used to have a notification on my Twitter app where if Shahrukh tweets, like I would get the thing so that I could get in. And so he's answering all these questions. He's on a roll. Christy and I were direct messaging each other. We're like, oh my God, look, someone asked this question. And then I, of course, had to put my giant foot in my mouth. And I go, Shahrukh, I really love your movie, Maya Mesa. What are your thoughts about it? He literally, his next tweet was, okay, guys, got to go. Bye. And Christy was like, you. You are the reason Shahrukh can't stop talking because he
literally
hates that movie.
other people.
I was like, sorry. So yeah, no, I can't really be trusted. No, maybe I'll make you proofread all my emails, and then only when you give me the go ahead, I will send those over. But yes, it was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to next year. I really hope to be able to meet Sonali Kulkarni next year because this year I just missed her every time. Like her panel discussion on Sunday was at 9:30 in the morning.
Mm.
It takes me 1.5 hours just to get to San Jose. Like, I was like, no. Also, there was like a major highway closure. So to get to San Jose, there was a detour. Oh my God, it was on the side of a mountain, Beth. It was like all of these horrible hairpin turns. So every single day I showed up at the film festival with a bag full of cough drops, like Ricola, because I get nauseous because of the hairpin turns. And every single evening I would come back to my home completely nauseous because it was so horrible.
Okay, next year you need an Airbnb
Yes.
so that you save these hours and hours of time.
I do. But yes, it was a lot of fun. I had a good time. And now I have Mohan Agashe's email address. So let the fun ensue. Um, what movies have you been watching or what have you been up to?
Yeah, so nothing is as glamorous as that, but I have watched two things, well, two
Ooh,
Indian things to discuss and one British thing to discuss if we wish, in decreasing order of relevance to to many of our audiences. Probably, I will say I watched my first Indian film of 2025 because I have not watched a single
wow.
new
I
movie,
have not either.
I don't think. And I've also recently cut ties with Netflix, so that means there's
Oh,
things
yeah, you told me.
that I don't see. So I was just noodling around and I heard about Detective Sherdil. Did you know about this movie?
Oh, it really sank under the radar for me, but does it have Diljit Dosanjh in it?
Yeah, so I thought you might,
Okay.
yeah. So I watched that because it has detective in the title, and we know that
Yeah.
detective things.
Yes.
Um, you can live without watching this movie, but
Okay.
it's okay. It's okay. I will
Okay.
say, I will put out
Was it
there.
was it like a direct to streaming thing? Because I literally have not heard about this film.
Yes,
I mean,
C5.
okay.
Um, I liked the mystery fine, and as we've previously discussed, I am not always the brightest of mystery watchers, so sometimes
Me
things
neither.
I'm like, oh, twist when other people were like, duh. Um, but I enjoyed it, but it's overly stylized in a way that got under my skin. So they're always putting words up on the screen. We can blame Sherlock for this, right? Like everyone
Mm.
doing pop-up things on the
Or A
screen.
Beautiful Mind.
But they did a lot of that when I didn't think that that added anything most of the time. And then the other thing that really grated for me was that so many detectives have some kind of
Quirk.
twitch or quirk or something, and his was that he plays the harmonica. So they kept doing harmonica riffs over and over and
Oh.
over again. And he's very clearly not playing those notes on the harmonica. Like, he's not, I, I I'm not a harmonica expert, but I have actually played a little bit of harmonica. It's been a long time, but I was like, I'm pretty darn sure he's not doing it. So just play it. You can have him hold it and then
Mm.
play it in the score, right? And we'll make the connection.
Yeah.
Um, so that was really irritating, but I liked the cast. So Boman Irani is there. He is married to Ratna Patak Shah.
Mm.
It's kind of in the same mode as she was in Hoopsarat, like very rich woman who takes no guff from anybody with a very sleek bobbed
Oh,
haircut.
yeah.
So that was fun. Sumit Vyas plays their son, and he's someone I like. I can't even really tell you what I've seen him in, but I've always liked him when I've seen him. And then the actress playing their daughter was not someone I recognized, even though she was in Banita Sandhu. So I think she was in October
Okay.
with yes, she was. And I didn't remember her at all because that movie's been quite a few years now. And then they have a maid who is of interest. Chunky Pandey plays a brother-in-law. There's a cute dog. And Diana Penty is also one of the cops.
Okay.
She's someone I have no feelings about whatsoever because I've only
No.
seen her in Cocktail, but
Same.
so yeah, I don't have anything major to say about this film, but
Okay.
it kept my attention. I was pleased to see it,
Okay.
detective things are things and it wasn't particularly violent or anything, which is really,
Mm.
you can get a detective film that's still kind of
Lighthearted.
a little gentle. Yes, I like that.
Mm.
We're in
Okay.
Budapest for reasons. Why not? I guess
Yeah.
Budapest, like, okay. Um, and then I watched with our friend Melanie, the Tiger Schroff scholar, Red Rose. Do you remember Red Rose?
Oh, the Rajesh Khanna Poonam Dillon one?
Yeah.
Girl, I have seen it at least twice in India because okay, so we used to have cable, right? But not in the way that we have cable here in America. In India, at least back in the 90s, it was this thing where like your neighborhood cable wala, literally he was like in my mom's phone book as cable wala. He would, give you the thing, whatever, and then every month he would give you like a little bill and like you would pay him, right? And so our cable wala would show these movies on this one channel that was like the cable channel, that were all like PG-13, like during the day. But then at night, he would just show nonsense. Now, because I'm a horror movie buff and my cousin Tupu also loves horror, we had a horror movie club when we were growing up. We would always be like, what horror movie is Cable Wala going to show tonight? And so Red Rose came on at
Ah,
least twice. That movie is a movie that was, I'm pretty sure all the cast and crew were on drugs. I'm just going to say that.
I've seen it before, but I hadn't remembered it very well. And we had a great deal of fun. So Melanie
Of
and
course.
I were chatting, and she told me that she's interested in this, in what I call the decline and fall of Rajesh Khanna,
Yes.
post-romantic stardom era, which I find much more interesting than his romantic lead, because I don't think he's a bad actor. His
Right.
romantic hero stuff does not land for me. I guess I kind of get why people loved it, although not to the extent
Yeah.
that it was. But this is much more interesting to me. And so if you haven't seen this movie, you definitely should. If you have seen it, you know. He was a complete psychotic,
Yeah.
multiple, who has a, to say he is a misogynist is under
Yes.
significantly, but he's got a creepy cat. He's got a weird thing with roses. He, you know, falls for Poonam Dillam because she works at a store and he's all weird to her about wanting to buy a handkerchief. Like it's all just very
Yeah.
weird. And then Aruna Rani is there and it's just it's creepy. There are moments where you're like, what is the soundtrack doing? There's a thing where there's just kind of atonal screaming, synthesizer and all. It's really interesting. It is based on a Tamil movie with Sridevi and Kamal Hassan,
Oh,
which Melanie are and I plan to see. So maybe next time we do a catch up episode, I can speak about that. But I had not remembered that, and I'm
wait, I want to be part of this. Can I watch that movie with you guys? Okay, we'll do a little watch party.
she's in Australia, so the timing is tricky, as we know, but we'll figure out a way to make it.
We're used to Vikas' schedule, so we'll be fine.
So that was a good time. And then the other thing I'll report on quickly is just that I have been.
Wait,
Oh,
but I have questions about Red Rose
I
for
mean,
you. You can't just go past Red Rose bad. This is an amazing film. Okay, I know that you do not like horror movies or like really creepy thrillers. This is both. How did Melanie talk you into watching this?
I I mean, since I had seen it before, I originally saw it, I believe, because somebody just sent me a DVD of it, a friend. If I could recall correctly, it was a friend who was doing her graduate work in Britain, and in the Poundland store, there were
Mm,
bins of Hindi movie DVDs. And so she just sent me things from Poundland, a couple
okay.
each at that time. I think this was a Poundland special, if I recall correctly. Um,
Okay.
and and so because I knew I had seen it and managed it just fine. But as we've discussed, most Hindi horror is not that scary to someone like
Right.
so
Yeah.
mild. It's gross. He's horrible. Like mentally, this is an upsetting film in a way.
Yeah.
It's again stylized in a way that kind of made me not feel it very deeply, I guess.
Okay.
Be callous about murderous misogyny. I really don't, because this guy's completely unhinged. And when you
Mm-hmm.
understand why, and I will put why in finger quotes because the explanation, you're like,
Right.
these are seeds that fell on an extremely fertile ground for
Right.
being a sociopath, basically. Um, but it does underscore the importance of good parenting. There's a very bad
Mm,
dad in this movie, and we won't
mm-hmm.
say who. Um, so yeah, I guess I just don't find it that it doesn't impact me in that way. Um,
Okay.
and it's not
When
cartoonish exactly, but it's yeah, but I can imagine if I saw it as a kid, it would have been much more. Scary.
Oh yeah. No, we loved watching it. Like because our cable wala only had like a few films. He would just so you would see the same thing over and over. And he would show Junoon also a lot, not the Shashi Kapoor Junoon,
Tiger.
the Rahul Roy Junoon. So he would show that. That one we also enjoyed very much. So this was part of his rotation. And at that age, we thought this was terrifying.
Oh yeah.
And we were very scared for Poonam Thalan, who's this very like pretty demure, shy. Like the age gap between them is so enormous, and he's so terrifying.
As you were saying demure, I thought maybe you were just going to stop with dim. Girl, girl.
I know.
I say this as a person with no self-preservation instincts, although my like physical self-preservation instincts are not generally tested because I have a pretty safe life, luckily for me. But
Right.
girl, there's a room in my house nobody goes into. Well, bye.
Right.
Guy says he wants to marry you on on your first date. Out,
Right.
out.
I
She's
actually,
very frustrating, and at the end, it's even more frustrating if I recall. But we won't
yeah.
spoil. But
It reminds me a little bit of like those gothic novels and like the stories about like Blackbeard and like the or like the wife that's like in the attic or like Jane Eyre, like those elements from gothic novels is what it reminds me of, which is why I find it entertaining. I wonder if it was like loosely based, like maybe the Tamil one was based on one of those books. I don't know.
it does feel somehow like it's from a book. I can't really tell you why I think
Yeah,
it has that feeling to me.
same.
Creepy cat,
Yeah.
very creepy cat.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of extraneous bowls of fruit with knives stuck in them. And if you see a
Right.
knife in it, that knife best be used for something. Chop's fruit bowl knife is in full effect here.
who is
I mean,
the
the 1980s clothing is so
yeah.
enjoyable, or like late 70s clothing. I was like, whoa, look at that polyester, like three-piece suit because he's wearing the vest and the jacket and everything. And Melanie said, "How do you think it's polyester?" I was like, "Girl, look at the year. Of course it's polyester."
Of course, all of that stuff is flammable.
Yeah,
There's
very much.
not a natural fiber in sight.
No,
Even his
no.
toupee is polyester.
Ronnie has some very fun, like polyester chiffon, sort of
Of
floofy
course.
and stuff like that. So
Yeah. When you were talking about like how dim someone is, I saw a tweet the other day, not like a tweet, it was on Reddit, and someone said the other day I was at the farmers market and this lady showed me her labradoodle, and then she told me that she had the labradoodle puppies in her van and did I want to go see them, and I saw them. Y'all, I am the girl that gets captured by serial killers.
puppy would be the way to do it. Oh, can I just say, this made my day. The other day, I stopped by a little cafe in our town to get some lunch,
Mhm.
and I was walking up to the door, and there was a man walking this small kind of red dog, kind of the like orangey red that my shirt is, if you're watching on YouTube. And I said, "Oh, hello, doggy," or something like that, as I always do. And without me asking the dog's name or anything, he said, "Hello, this is Eleanor Roosevelt," which is the best dog name. I think it's like the best thing I've ever heard in my life.
That is amazing.
And I said, "That's a lot to live up to."
Yeah, I have never met a presidential dog or like
No,
a first lady dog or anything like that. How wonderful, though.
no. And I hope little Eleanor Roosevelt has a full schedule of doing improving activities to help everyone.
Probably does. That doggy needs to come to Mohan Agashe's presentation because that doggy don't eat no junk food.
Just fine. Any more red rose?
Yeah, yes, I will continue to talk about Red Rose. Sorry. What did you think of Rajesh Khanna in his decline? Because I could be biased because I do enjoy this movie very much, and there's the nostalgia factor for it because it's me and Tapu eating ice cream and watching movies. What's not to love? But I remember enjoying his acting in this because I thought he did a very good job of being like hella creepy, which he never did during his heyday.
Yeah, very creepy. Is he over the top? Maybe, but he's a serial killer. So what standard are we holding the acting to for this?
Right.
What's a relevant standard to hold this to? It did not distract me from the story. It did not distract me from the sort of vibe of the film. It did not take me out of what I was watching. So I give it an A. You know what I mean? Like I thought
Yeah.
it was very effectively weird.
And I feel like the age gap between them really also heightened the weirdness of it because, like,
And I don't think
there
they
was,
pretend it's not there, unlike so many
right,
other projects we could. I did look it up
right.
because I think that full 2019 or 20 years.
Yeah, it's a very unsettling movie. What did you think of Poonam Dalon's acting in it?
Good, I think. Like, I don't think I have any problem. My problems were with the character, not with her.
Yeah.
She doesn't, she kind of she conveyed the like young and in love kind of thing. And she does have a few principles that she tries to stick to throughout the,
Hmm.
or at least one. Like she definitely is not going to sleep with him before they're married. She's very
Hmm.
clear about that, right? And she holds holds that line, even though I mean, I think that we, the audience, know he's very threatening by this point,
Hmm.
because we've seen weird stuff. We see of course we know. What am I saying? Because he has these weird flashes of like another woman and her like the back of her
Right.
body with the back of her bra showing and stuff. So like, and we know
Hmm.
that sometimes you see him with a a very um sort of what's the word I want? Mumsy sort of bra in his bed or whatever. So yeah. Um so we know he's up to no good, but we don't know
Hmm.
the full extent of it, I think. But or maybe we do by that point. Anyway, but so I thought she conveyed what was appropriate for that character. Do you have thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I remember her just being befuddled throughout the film, which
And it
was
is
very
true that
alarming.
like when she gets actual information, I think she does act on it.
Yeah.
So maybe it's unfair of me to call her dim. But
I mean, she's just young and naive
right. Yeah,
and kind of like he's so pushy in this
he
movie,
is.
right? Like he's so pushy that I feel like she's just not at an age where she's come into her own where she can like
There's this moment where so when we were talking about oh, we're gonna get to an episode soon about Preeti Zinta where someone throws something at her, and I was reminded of that in this uh
mm,
movie because he at one point so she is at working in a department store and is behind the counter for handkerchiefs, and he has one and he like throws it at her, and that to me is a very upsetting thing to do. Like, yes, it's a very dainty piece of fabric, it doesn't physically hurt her, but
still.
it's a disrespectful,
Mhm.
invasive, dismissive.
Anytime someone like throws things, it reminds me of the dialogue from Zanjeer where Amitabh Bachchan says, "मैं आज भी फेंके हुए पैसे नहीं उठाता." I still remember when I lived in Chicago, I'd gone into a Walgreens. I just needed to pick up like Sudafed or something, and there was this very young boy in front of me. Like, there were these two boys, and he was like a preteen. He must have been like 11 or 12, and he had like cash. Like his parents must maybe it was his pocket money or something. He had a tenner, and he literally just threw the tenner like and he wasn't even being like bratty. It just I think he just didn't realize that that's a very impolite thing to do. But this is one of the things I love about Chicago cashiers are not taking shit from you. So the no, they are not. So the woman literally just looked at him and she said, "Excuse me, sir, you are not going to throw that money at me." And he was just like, "Huh?" And I was like, "That's right, that's right." And then she was like, "You will offer me the money respectfully." And then he literally took the tenner and gave it to her. And I almost burst into applause. I was
Yeah,
like, this is amazing.
love
But I
that.
remember being the filmy person I am, standing in line clutching my Sudafed. I was sick. And this is ages ago when we did not know that if you're sick and you're out in public, you should be masking, but whatever. So I was like this. And I'm thinking, मैं आज भी फेंके हुए पैसे नहीं उठाता. Very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, how rude. I don't care if it's a handkerchief or anything. You shouldn't be throwing anything at anyone. If you do, you're going to get a talking to. Um, last question about Red Rose.
Ah,
Um, is this a Ramsey movie? Who made this? I
no,
don't
it's
think it's Ramsey.
not. No, it's by the director who did the Tamil one, but
Okay.
it had moments of Ramsey to it for sure,
Mm,
but it's so much more urban than most of theirs are. At
yeah.
least in my head. Like, but there were moments like where the music goes a little bananas, and I thought this isn't even so much Ramsey as it is like Joginder or somebody like that. Like
Yeah.
it's like beyond slash below Hear My Finger
Right.
Ramsey. Um, but it does have elements of
A
that.
little bit of that feel.
They're the best known Hindi horror people at the time this is made. Like, of course, we're all gonna think of the Ramsey brothers, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to imagine Rajesh Khanna doing a Ramsey brothers film. But this one certainly is weird. But I guess if Kamal Hassan does it, it's good enough.
Kamal Hassan and Sridevi, like those are big stars.
Right. And that's another, I know they have other films together. I've only ever seen one of them and I'm not a fan.
Oh, Sadma.
Yeah, their age difference
Yeah.
freaks me out. Especially because she just seems so young.
I like the puppy in it.
So yeah, we'll have to watch the Tamil one and see.
Yes. Exciting. Okay, then what was the third movie you
Oh, and then
watched?
the third thing I've been doing is revisiting a British detective show called Agatha Raisin, which is based on books by MC Beaton. Um, and they star in the title role Ashley Jensen, who's an actress I really love. She was in Ugly Betty, the American version. She's the costume or like the fashion,
Okay.
the woman in the, I was about to say the wardrobe department. I don't know if that's what it's called in a fashion magazine, but she's the one with all the clothes.
Mm,
She's in extras and wait, extras?
okay.
I think I do. She's in various things that you may have seen, and I love her, but these are very, they're not very, people die, but they're not very violent. They're very like gentle, quaint British mystery. She plays
Cozy Mysteries.
Scottish, but her vibe is that she's been in London running a successful PR firm, but she decides she wants out of that and she buys a cottage in the Lake District. And,
Mm,
you know, she has various friends who help her out with her investigations and she's always dressed in a very particularly she's not fabulous in terms of like a really excessive, really exciting and creative fashion way, but she wears like bright pink trousers and an emerald green shirt and bright pink
mm.
heels and is always carrying, she's one of those people who carries her handbag on her arm. It's never
Oh,
on,
yeah.
it's always on her, you know, that
Right. Those people.
guy, and she'll have to like take off her shoes and every now and again you'll to like break a window or whatever. So those are, if you have access to those and you would like sort of a cozy-ish kind of mystery, I fully enjoy Agatha Raisin and recommend.
Okay. Nice. Okay. One of our regular commentators with whom I really enjoy chatting on the YouTube comment section, I never know how to say her name. It's this very Latin sounding thing. It's Ceteris Paribus, but I don't know what that means either. But she was asking if you and I were interested in doing an episode on Sayara. And I said to her, I know nothing about this movie except I have read the story and it does not sound like my cup of tea. And I need to find out if my theater is even showing it. And I looked it up and it was so funny. I looked it up at 12:20 and apparently there was a noon show at my movie theater. And I was like, of course, of course. And every other show at my theater is at 9:30 p.m. I was like, 9:30 p.m. is my bedtime. I am not Gen Z, okay? 9:30 p.m. I am going Betty Bye with my cat. So I don't know if I'm going to see it. Have you heard about this film? Apparently, it is taking everyone by storm.
Yeah, only a little bit, which just shows you how out of everything I am not, I'm not on social media nearly as much as I used to be. It is a self-protective,
Same.
I regret nothing.
Yeah, same.
But I know this is getting a lot of attention. Melanie told me it was good. When I read about it, it does not particularly appeal to me, I have to say. So I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
It did
Yeah,
feel here. I
same.
don't know if it's still here or not, but it was showing in my town at least
Oh,
one
it was. Okay.
day. But I didn't even bother to go see it to see if it was still here this past weekend. So I guess the answer for me is no, but I hope others are not.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not against
I
it, but
know.
in general, I was just kind of like, meh.
Yeah, I told her to report back because she said that she wanted to see because she had FOMO because like all her friends were watching it. And she was like, I just want to go see it. And her parents apparently left the movie before the interval, which sounds like a very parent thing to do.
That's bad. I have not watched
Yeah.
an Indian movie since um Robot 2.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know there was a robot too. Interesting.
It has
Um,
Kumar as the villain.
oh, that's a no. But I haven't even seen Robot despite my Aishwarya Rai love.
Oh, I forgot that you have got to see it, Pitu. It is so fun.
You know what? I'll do it for a color series when we get to silver. There you go.
There you
Because even if I don't like it, I love Aishwarya Rai, so I'm not going to lose here, right? So it's fine. But yeah, so she said her parents left before the interval, which just made me giggle out loud. But then she said that, and I was like, okay, but report back if you do see it, then I want to know what it was like. But then she saw it and she said she actually liked it. And she said it's not like the greatest thing ever or whatever, but it was good. She said the acting was really good and the music and everything, and so she recommended it. So that's why I looked up showtimes. And my hope is that if this movie gets more traction and if more people watch it, then perhaps they'll add more sensible shows, because I am not watching 9:30 p.m. show of Sayara. So then I'm open to going and watching it. We'll see. Yeah, my town is kind of like a good litmus test for whether Hindi movies will do well or not, because we don't have a very big Indian population, but we're fairly close to towns that do. So if an Indian movie comes to my theater, A, it means that there is at least some demand, and B, if they add shows, then it's a good test of whether that movie's doing, or if they just immediately take it off, then you know it's just not doing well. The movie I am very excited about, that is coming in March 2026, and I have like a whole thing planned for it, is Project Hail Mary, which is, of course, it's a Hollywood film. It stars Ryan Gosling, whom I love. I watch everything with Ryan Gosling that I can get my hands on, because I just think he's like the best thing since sliced bread. And it's based on the novel Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, who also wrote The Martian. And I love the book The Martian. I love the movie The Martian, even though I'm not a Matt Damon fan. So the fact that Project Hail Mary is being made into a movie and it stars Ryan Gosling is very exciting to me. The trailer just came out. I have watched the trailer at least 3 times because I'm very excited. And my whole plan is, like, the movie releases in March. So in Feb, I'm going to read the book and I'm going to read all of the discussions about the book. And then I'm going to go into the movie and probably see it in like IMAX or something to get the full vibe. So I'm very excited about that plan. But that's in March, so it's like a long time away. But there's a lot of excitement in my household for Project Hail Mary. So yeah. Other than that, I still want to see Superman. I'll probably see it on Tuesday. I'm not really like a big Superman fan, but this one seems to be really good. I've been hearing good things about it. There's also a doggy in it, and I want to see the super dog. So I think I'll have a good time. When I went to see Lilo and Stitch in the theater, I saw the preview for Superman, and I was like, huh, this actually looks good. So I'll probably watch that as well. Other than that, I've been watching a lot of TV. So I finally finished the latest season of Bosch. And then the Bosch Legacy. And then I also watched Ballard, which is a spin-off that has Maggie Q in the role. So she plays Detective Renee Ballard. Amazing. No notes. Absolutely enjoyed it. Very awesome. She has this like motley crew of people who are helping her, because she's like kind of like almost a disgraced LAPD police officer, and she's been kicked out of homicide for something that was not even her fault. And so she starts this like cold case department, and they're like literally in this basement, and it's entirely staffed by volunteers. And it's really cool. I really enjoyed Ballard. So I've been kind of watching that. And then, of course, I have been dropping my IQ by several points every week by continuing to binge on Millionaire Matchmaker, which is one of the worst reality shows a person could watch. Everyone in the show is deplorable and hateful, and I hate Patty Stanger, who is the millionaire matchmaker, and it's so cringe, but I can't stop watching. And so there's good and bad. So the bad thing is that I'm pretty sure my IQ has slid by at least 50 points since I started watching it, because it's such crap. But the good side is that my self-esteem has greatly risen, because even when I'm being bad or stupid, I think to myself, you know what? As bad and as stupid as you are, Pitu, you're still not this level of bad and stupid. So the bar is in hell, but I've cleared the bar. So I do not recommend you watch Millionaire Matchmaker. It is really terrible.
I have no patience for reality. Most reality TV actually of any kind, but especially not dating shows.
No, it is the
But
worst.
I do have a lot of patience for my favorite drag queens on YouTube or
Oh, yeah.
watching dating shows and talking about it because that's funny.
I didn't know they did a thing like that. They watch dating shows and then comment on it. That does sound
Yeah, so
funny.
now I don't know who all does it, but the people I'm thinking of are Katya and Trixie Mattel and Katya Zamolodchikova, who, have a show called and now they have a show for Netflix so they watch Netflix properties and the Netflix YouTube channels puts these out.
Okay.
Find fan compilations of them watching various dating shows. But so they've done Love is Blind 1 and 2. It's called something like Dated and Related,
Okay.
or something where siblings or cousins or whatever go on dating shows and not as a couple. Obviously, it's not,
Oh,
but it's,
I
about,
got very nervous for a
I know.
second.
Well, I mean, as a culture, I feel like we're basically there. So
Yeah.
I don't know how the Christian right feels about that. Um, there's a couple of others. Oh, there's a show on Netflix apparently that's about people with autism dating.
Oh.
Love on the Spectrum,
Oh.
I think it's.
Oh, my friend watches that.
And there's at least one show of Trixie and Katya watching that, and they love that one. Like they genuinely love it, which is it's really cute to watch them.
Yeah, my friend really likes that show too. Like she's been asking me to watch it for a long time. But I want to see if Trixie and Katya talk about Millionaire Matchmaker because that would be great.
Is it on Netflix?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a shot they might do it. They
Yeah.
watch a new Charlize Theron movie, and Netflix got Charlize to tape them like a message, and they like lost their minds because they love her. It was really funny.
Oh, that's amazing. So this one, the Millionaire Matchmaker that I've been watching, because it was just like suggested for me. So I was like, okay, so Netflix knows I have shit for brains. Great, amazing. So I started watching it, and this season was like 2013, because it's like a really old show apparently. And oh my God, Beth, the 2013 fashions are terrible. All the outfits were just so cringe, and I was like, oh my God, this is how we used to dress. And like everyone has like the hair puff and everything, and the long tank tops with the it's very like Delia's catalog and everything. And then the little chokers, like the lacy looking Victorian chokers. Yeah, the fashions in this season are very, very terrible. I mean, everything about it is terrible, but
Oh
yeah,
boy.
I know. It's great. What is next on your radar? What are you gonna watch next?
Well, so I'm about to go on vacation, and I'm going to
Yay.
Montreal. And as some listeners may know, I spent 2 years in Toronto for graduate school, but I have not spent that much time in Montreal, or Quebec at all. So my friends that I'm going to go visit, I would love to see more Canadian films, but I am not aware of how to access them. And
Mm.
my French is reading wise is okay. My accent's garbage. And I, of course, did not learn Quebecois French in school at all. So I've been listening to like Quebecers on YouTube and trying to get my brain around the accents a little bit, you know, just to help me not be such a bumbling idiot when I go there. But it got me thinking about maybe I'll get to see a Canadian film while I'm there. That would be really fun. And they're both fluent in English, of course, as well. So um maybe there'll be a Canadian film we can go and see. That would be super fun. And
Nice.
I hope this is not sounding like I'm being patronizing, like, oh, Canada also makes movies. That's not what I mean at all. I have been there enough to know the ecosystem of cultural production is very complicated in Canada, and especially when it comes to something the scale of a feature film, like a lot of their talent comes south of the border for more money. Um,
Ryan Gosling is from Canada.
the talent drain, the brain drain is real. There are policies in place in Canada to help protect that, but then also things like distribution and stuff I think are really complicated. Although I'm hoping that streaming maybe has made that a lot better.
Hmm.
So I don't know kind of about Canadian streaming productions, but I'd like to know more. So maybe I can get to at least see some Canadian TV while I'm there with maybe some films. That
Yeah.
would be really fun. Or and like Quebecois films. I don't know anything about Quebecois cinema at all. Like as little as I know about Canadian cinema, I know even less about the Francophone cinema. So that would be really interesting. Yeah, there's not much else on my list at the moment, I don't think. I mean, literally my list on my Google Drive is dozens
For
of
our podcast.
things. Well, there's that, but then also just all these other things. I'm like, oh, I should watch that at some point, but then I just never get around to it. I'm working on trying to not my doom scrolling these days takes place on YouTube.
Mm.
So I just keep like what's another 8-minute video of someone redecorating their bathroom or whatever. Like well, why am I watching that? So like I'm really trying to work on my YouTube habits because they're bad right now. They're bad.
Yeah.
And I have been pushing myself really hard to not just read more, but read with my eyeballs more. Not I have been in a real audiobook mood the last
Oh,
pandemic onwards, basically. So I'm really like I've got, a book right here that I plan to read with my eyes and stuff like that. So my list right now is focusing more on reading than on watching, other than the
nice.
things that we are choosing to do for our podcast, which I do
Right.
very much enjoy. And we have some really fun ones coming up that I look forward to listening.
Speaking of books, this is a book my friend sent me, The Indian Cat, that I'm looking forward to reading. It's nonfiction and it's about like paintings and stuff about cats and like old mythological stories about cat, all in an Indian context, like paintings like that. So I'm excited about that because I actually don't know about how many like myths and stuff there exist of cats. Snakes, yes, so many
Yeah.
about snakes. So many for cows, not so much for cats. So I'm looking forward to exploring
And that's
this.
one of the standout features of Red Rose, honestly, is that there's a cat in it because there are very
Yeah.
few cats in Hindi films, very few, and
Yeah.
even fewer that actually kind of partake in the story. And this cat does partake.
Right. I think part of the problem, I once said this to my husband because I'm an equal opportunity dog and cat lover. And I once told my husband that I think that the world is very biased against cats because I said dogs have jobs, dogs are in the army, dogs are in, the police force, dogs are like special education type of dogs and service dogs and epilepsy dogs and all the different kinds of dogs. And they act in movies. And I was like, nobody gives cats jobs. It's really unfair. And my husband was like, have you met cats?
They do have a job, and many of us don't need that job anymore. We're just squirming out of the brain supply, right?
Mousers.
No one
Yeah.
really need that. And my little guy is actually a really good mouser, so he's doing a great job at his job. Would do less well at his job, frankly.
You should give him like a job report where you should basically say exceeds all expectations and then give him a supervisory role, like promote him
Oh
so
yeah,
he no longer needs to kill
he's not on the
rats,
ground.
right? So that he can just be like in his office and like a little tie and he can just present PowerPoint presentations on how to kill a rat. That way he'll be happy and also you will not be woken up by a dead rat in your bed.
It was a mouse, not a rat, fortunately, but
Okay. Still a rodent.
awful.
Okay, I think that concludes this catching up episode, and we will see you guys next week. I'm not going to tell you what the episode is. All I'm going to say is ding. Thanks for watching. Bye.